Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Michael and I are back for Australian Survivor Redemption. Almost said UK because we have a Survivor UK guest, Doug Swinbanks, back with us. Welcome back, Doug.
Yo, good to be back with the Tribe of Nerds, my favorite tribe.
Yeah, it's so good to have you back, Doug. So, I mean, how
have you
been?
Lenena.
Yeah.
Yes. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been so good. Just getting I'm so invested in this season. The Australian Survivor is just great. It's a great show. I love it. I think it's one of the best iterations of Survivor across the world, and everything about the cast and the host is great. Like, we can go into this and how it is edited, the story being told, some of these tribals, and the tension and just the excitement. It's real good. I think this is a top 5 Aussie Survivor season for me, I think. And I mean, there's a lot of good seasons there. This is top 5 for sure. I don't know. It'll depend how the next few episodes go and how it ends, but it's looking like a real humdinger.
Yeah. I liked this week. I thought this was a really good week, a really surprising week, because I didn't expect us to lose some of the people we lost this week. So.
Yeah, totally.
Michael?
I mean, we also did a draft for this season, Doug, and I'm kind of crying inside now because both of my returnees that I picked for my draft are now gone.
No.
I think Austin's got this in the bag, but we're having fun with the season. I was going to ask why you mentioned David there. Like, how are you finding David as a host? Obviously, GLP was so we've discussed it ad nauseum. Like, what do you think about David as the host, Doug?
Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm like, it's kind of weird. The first few episodes, you have to adjust. I'll miss JLP, but Dave has really grown in me. He's I think he's got this. I think he's really got this. It doesn't feel abnormal anymore. I think this is his role, and it's a thumbs up for me. I'm liking him. I really am. I think it's taken him a while to get into the role, but very much on the. I was a big Dave fan anyway.
Yeah.
I found being a player. So just having him on our screens a bit more, it's welcome for me. Yeah, I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah, I think he's grown into it more as the show has gone on as well. Like, I think last week I was starting to see, like, okay, David, he's now making this his own, and I think this week, like, I think he's becoming fully fledged. So I'm happy now with where the direction David is going in as host.
Yeah.
Michael, any other thoughts on David?
Not on David. I mean, I've always loved David as much as I miss JLP. But yeah, this was a crazy week. I think Doug picked such a good week to join in for this because it was pure content, like 3 big boots. Like, Mark, it breaks my heart, but man, that middle episode, Tribal Council, was so much fun.
Yeah.
What maybe the best of the season so far. And they're already teeing up that apparently next week there's going to be a crazy Tribal Council, maybe the best ever, they're saying. So
I did see that.
Maybe it's just going to keep going on and on and on.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. So let's go into episode 13. So we get our merged tribe. We get Tagiola, meaning redemption. So very fitting that they found the word that meant that. And we're going to have the car award challenge because Australia luckily still gets to do car awards, whereas the US stopped doing them in season 14. Sally wins the car on she has to balance the spool on the track. And so it's like a new kind of endurance challenge. So I enjoyed this challenge, and I enjoyed like seeing the car award back. What about you guys?
Yeah, the challenge was good. There's something about these sort of challenges where there's a huge difficulty spike towards the end where you make one adjustment and everyone just goes. You can't really help it. I had it on our season as well, actually. We had to let go of these ropes. Everyone just sort of falls. I do like when individual sort of endurance-y challenges where you've just merged and you just have kind of a standoff 1v1v1v1. But the change of difficulty spike where everyone just drops, it takes a bit of the tension out of it for me. But it's good fun, good fun, and credit to Sally, good job.
Yeah. Sally's been kind of like, I feel like we've gotten a little bit of her, but like we haven't gotten too much. And I think like last week with her being on Redemption with Caleb and Keely, like we got a little more of her. And I think like it was her edit was probably coming in at the right time because it's building up to her now winning this car award. But I don't know. I like Sally. I want to see more of her though. So
I think she had a really good episode, and it's really difficult not to root for her, like her story and like the emotion of it, and then this like amazing moment of her winning the car. It's coming out of Redemption. I felt like Sally was a new player this episode. She was, I never saw her as much of a strategist. We hadn't seen that much in the show, and like going into this episode, she was a brand new woman. Like Redemption did her the world of good, and she won a car. I did find it quite funny that I guess they couldn't bring the car out to Samoa or wherever they're at. They just gave her the keys. It was like, yeah, well, usually they do the thing where they have you drive off down the beach and you get to take a couple of people. It wasn't quite as bad as South Africa, where the prize was you get to ride in a car but you don't get to keep it. So at least she does get it when she gets home.
Allegedly.
Do they just put the keys in their bag, or like I'd be worried to lose the keys out there. But yeah, so then we have Lottie. This is her downfall episode, unfortunately, and we see her trying to seek out new alliances at the merge feast. So she's telling Mark that she really respects his game, which I think was something that at least was like the right move to attempt, like sucking up to Mark. I think that's something she really had to try for, and unfortunately it just didn't pan out. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Like, I don't know if she has a relationship. It's really difficult because from the edit that we saw in the pre-merge, Lottie was like a huge power player. She was, the key between getting Harry out. She was one of the most edited new players in that pre-merge, and then she just didn't seem to have anything going for her when she came out of this. I actually said last week that I thought going into a merge in a minority on the tribe swap isn't always a bad thing, because everything changes up and you can find, people who want to scoop people up from the bottom. But she just seemed to be an outlier that no one was really too concerned about keeping around. But yeah, I don't know what happened to her. I don't think the edit did a good job of really explaining where it all went wrong for Lottie, because she was riding high and then she was just, nobody wants to work with you.
Yeah. I think because she was on the bottom of the Asha vote, but I didn't think that was like a huge detriment. Like I thought she would rebound from it, and then she just didn't.
Yes,
so.
Yeah. I think that the whole, from what I gathered from the edit, was she was targeted because she was going to be the leader of the resistance, which is probably true. Like she was a huge player. Very, I thought she was a bit of a badass. I think she would probably be one of my top picks for a potential returnee.
Yeah.
If it gets to that, but to be fair, if it was probably a good read, because that's the type of player that you would envisage leading some sort of resistance and cobbling together numbers and having some sort of control. But it's one of those ones where the edit didn't quite tell the story. Not as good as maybe the next two episodes we'll discuss. But a fair read from Mark and Co to get her out, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's gonna come after Jackson here, which is gonna make Laws conflicted. Laws has been an interesting player because I feel like she's in these positions where she can potentially swing either way, and the edit just isn't showing as much of her either. It'll show her being like, I'm conflicted, but then she just kind of falls in line with what the returnees want, what the Beauty and the Beasts want. So I've found Laws interesting. Again, another person that I wish we got to see more of.
Yeah.
Big story of this week is going to be passengers in the game of Survivor, and we'll get into it. I disagree with some of the players' decisions when it comes to passengers, and I think Loz is that passenger. Can I also talk about my love for Keely in this section? Because Keely goes to Simon in this bit, and she's like, you're such a smart person. I don't think people realize how smart you are, and you're so handsome and you're so sweet. And Simon's like, yeah, I'm so glad you see that. It's like, for me, it was the most obvious, like, BS flattery.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's like
the, like
Survivor 101, just blowing hot smoke up your arse and see if it lands. It really is.
Yeah. Doug, you're so sweet. I'd love to work with you. Has anyone ever told you how nice you are? Like,
I'll never vote for you ever.
Yeah, Simon loves having his ego stroked. Yeah, so we also get the returnees becoming the Boomerang Alliance, not to be confused with the Billie Eilish Boomerang Alliance.
I prefer this Boomerang.
Yeah, I do as well. Doesn't have to have a celebrity's name attached to it. And yeah, their plan is to pick off the passengers or the stragglers that are kind of hanging on. So, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on the returnees trying to form the Boomerangs here? Obviously, it's not going to end up panning out for Mark at the end of the week, but I was excited for this. I think this is exactly what the returnees plus Keely had to do to keep themselves safe. It's just that they didn't expect that everyone else was going to form such a strong resistance.
Yeah, I think for someone like Brooke, who's now forming a second alliance, it's just great. It's just having that fluidity to jump between two different circles. You have more information.
Yeah,
very, very smart. And just going back to sort of basic Survivor 101, you're keeping your shields around you close, and that moving target just can fluctuate between the remaining players. So yeah, you kind of want to keep that cluster, I guess, to keep the I don't like the term the newbies because it's kind of a bit demeaning, but to keep the first timers on their toes,
right. Yeah, Michael?
Yeah, I think it makes total sense for them. I don't know how well they got that idea across to others, because to me, the reason you keep the newbie, the returning players around is if you start taking out big threats, that's just going to go down the line. And if you're playing hard and if you're playing a big game, you will eventually get sniped. And you have these people that are just willing to go along with a vote, like we're going to see in a couple of tribals. But they are the people that are actually the most dangerous to your game, the passengers that are just willing to jump on. So actually, if you're playing a game in terms of playing big, wanting to make big moves, wanting to be bold, you do not want people around that are just willing to go with whatever people say, because ultimately it's going to come down to them once the big players start going one by one. And I feel like as soon as one of the returnees goes, it's going to be like dominoes. And there's a few players that have come up in this week that have been, showing themselves to be more, playing the game harder than the rest. And yeah, the returning players might go first, but who's going to be after them? It's going to be those that have shown themselves to be on a par with those returning players. So I am concerned, I will say, about this season coming down to like a final six of people that have just kind of coasted. That is my biggest worry right now with the season. Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah. I feel like there's going to be someone who's had a little bit more power in the game that manages to make it through. I don't necessarily know that we're going to be stuck with all stragglers, but I do think there's going to be a couple that sneak their way through into like that final 2 weeks, finale week. So I could definitely understand the concern, because I think that's a concern every season, especially in Australian Survivor, because I feel like a lot of the seasons, even all these good seasons, that there is always going to be someone who doesn't get as much of an edit because they're kind of just like straggling along.
Yeah, I think just the cast is so big in general. There's only so much you can fit in for each character, and that's just what it is.
Right, exactly.
It's hard to get a good edit when Mark's getting like 100 confessionals.
Well, yeah, that's true.
How much time is there for anyone else?
Yeah, it's insane. I didn't look up the confessional stats, but I feel like Mark definitely has like probably at least 100 in this season alone.
Yeah, I saw a Reddit post on confessional account, and it was shocking how much he has ahead of second place. I can't remember this off my head, but it was very impressive.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to someone breaking out in the next episode, but we'll get there soon. So the immunity challenge here is hold up the log with the knotted rope. This is a challenge that John Cochran won. And Brooke ends up winning. And as Rich points out, she's won the first individual immunity every season she's played. So, I mean, kudos to Brooke. I mean, we know Brooke is so good at these challenges. like honestly, Brooke could just like do what she did in All Stars and just kind of immunity run her way through. So I'm looking for Brooke, like our prediction at the beginning of the season, that Brooke might be the last returnee left standing.
I'm still holding out for a Brooke win.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love that.
I'm not happy with just last one standing, but
yeah.
Jake, can we talk about how do you pronounce her name again? Do you want to say
Blanche?
it,
Jake? I said it right this time.
Jake's had a real struggle with pronouncing Blanche's name. He says Blanche. Apparently, that's not a name in the US.
No, apparently not.
Nice.
Blanche wants Simon to let her win, and Simon says, like, what do you have to offer? And she says nothing. Simon says, like, what about a vote? And she says, you want me to vote for you? It's like the concept of, hey, vote with me tonight and I'll let you win, apparently isn't a thing that has crossed her mind. She just thinks that Simon's saying, yeah, can you vote me out tonight and I'll let you win the game. What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What were you going to say, Doug?
Oh, one thing I didn't. This is it was a production question. Was at these challenges, when David says we'll draw for spots, so we'll draw rocks to see where you're positioned along the line. But these polls they're weighted for a body weight per contestant.
Yeah,
which are probably preloaded before the contestants arrive to the challenge. So it's kind of a bit of mute because you just go to your allocated position anyway, which had been loaded beforehand based on your body weight. So something funny that I noticed that they say you'll draw for spots, but the spots were probably already pre-chosen, I guess. So something I noticed.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case with a lot of these challenges. I was just going to say, I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it, but Blanche still has a voting record where she hasn't voted correctly at all. So...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
That's not ideal. But
no.
Yeah, on the weighting thing as well, like, it's one of those challenges that's not exactly equal across the board. So, like, on your season, Doug, if you did something like that, like, your starting weight's going to be higher than the starting weight of, X, Y, or Z. And you've also been out there for 20 days, so you'll have lost weight as well. So it's like some people are holding so much more weight. So there's something about that where it's just like, I feel like they need to do something that makes it more equal across the board. I don't know how you do it. It's I guess it's the best way they can do it, but those kind of challenges are just really weighted against, pardon the pun, the heavier players.
Yeah. So then we're gonna get Keely pushing Lottie, and that is what is gonna gain traction. So at Tribal Council, we're gonna get Lottie blindsided in a 9-3-1 vote over Ben and Jackson. So Lottie, I think, deserves to come back, like Doug said. I think she was a really good player, got the raw end of the stick on the Asha vote, and then just couldn't end up recovering, losing one of her biggest allies. So it's really unfortunate because I think if things had turned out better, I think Lottie could have possibly ran this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a big blow, but as I said, I would love to see her back. I think she's a good player. She knows the game, and this is what I like about a lot of players in Australian Survivor. They actually like the show. They know what they're doing. They enjoy Survivor. They enjoy grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and playing. Someone like Mark, who I'm a huge fan of Mark. So yeah, I would really like to see her play again.
Yeah, 100%. Michael?
It was a really kind of odd first merge vote. First merge votes usually are very chaotic, and you've got a lot of different ideas vying to be the majority. This felt quite, I'd say about 2/3 through the episodes, it felt pretty by the numbers that it was going to be Lottie, and it was, I don't know, it wasn't the big bombastic first merge tribal, but the only good side of that is the next two are going to be way above bombastic. So it's just a shame that Lottie couldn't I don't know, make something work here. Because I agree, like Lottie was one of my favorite, like, first time players of the season. And yeah, bring it back. I feel like Australian Survivor, with everything that's going on at the minute in viewership and everything, like there's going to be a lot of returning players here and there dotted throughout seasons. So sure, I'd take a Lottie return.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always feel bad for these people that just miss out on the jury in Australian Survivor, but they made the merge. So like we're gonna get with Lottie and we'll talk about Rich here. And then like, you know, Eden a couple seasons ago, and Winnow, like those kind of people sucks.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, so let's move on to episode 14 and the breakout episode for Ben. So I'm shocked that Ben didn't get more screen time early on in the season, but I guess he was playing just under the radar early on, and like now he's just like coming out being super crazy. Like
he's got his hair in dreads. He's just changed his look. He's kind of like wearing the kind of the buff over his head. He's a changed dude. He's a changed dude, and it's great to see. You just got to have a villain in there just to really spice things up. And he's sick and tired of letting these other players run the game. He's wanting to take things into his own hands, and more power to him. You know, it's great. It's great to see.
Yeah. Michael, your thoughts on Ben?
Yeah, Ben came out of nowhere. Maybe my first thought was this is coming out of Brains versus Brawn too. So like a player like Ben, who's very physical, I imagine would look at a player like Kalen from Brains versus Brawn 2 and say, the way Kalen played the game is a really good way to play if you're a big physical threat. So it feels very Kalen to me that, you know, kind of just being an under the radar guy, not pushing the boat out too much, and then we suddenly find out at Merge that this guy's got so much personality. It's crazy. Like we hadn't seen anything from him really, and he has so many quotes and quips, and like his confessionals just went mad. All of us, I didn't expect him to have that kind of personality. So you know, the one plus side how the weekends, I'm happy if it means that we're going to get more Ben, because I think Ben has potential. If we're talking about, you know, new players that could have, you know, returnee potential, Ben's personality is easily something that can carry an episode of Survivor. And yeah, he's so much fun. And what does he call himself?
Davo.
Like,
Davo. Yeah, I was confused at first, like a couple episodes ago, because I think he said something about being called Davo, and then I'm like, wait, is he talking about David? That's legitimately what I thought, and I'm like, oh no, that's his last name.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, his name's Ben. Where did that come from?
Yeah. So I find
an alter ego.
Yeah, as most of these players seem to have, is a big ego. So yeah, I some of these confessionals, like he's yelling at the camera like Mark is a stain on this game, and then, you know, you get the RPG confessional next episode. Might be one of my favorite confessionals.
We need Ben and Caleb. Ben and Caleb together would be just the most chaotic duo.
Oh my god. Yeah. We'll talk more about Caleb here soon as well. But we also get in this episode, we get Simon using the canvas bag and rope to create a fake idol. Simon's learned from having fake idols that he needs to try to make one of his own. And we have Simon trying to also play the middle, which is going to get him caught eventually by Ben and Jackson. But I found this interesting from Simon, like kind of this, like his own redemption, his own character arc of like, he's been played by fake idols and everything before, and now he's gonna play them. So I find that fun.
Yeah, totally. There's a small part of me that might think this season is maybe Simon's story. It might be, you know, and it would be nice to see, you know. I think you just know that he's a really good dude in normal life, and he's been a big Survivor fan for a long time, and we've seen him get really emotional the times he's played. You know, we've seen how much it means for him to say win an individual immunity, or just make a merge, or have some sort of milestone. It really affects him deeply. So if the season goes and he ends up winning it would be a nice story for him, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I find because I find that interesting because like in the beginning, they have the moment of him taking Daniel's jacket. They have him being emotional over Harry leaving. Like I feel like that stuff kind of leads us to believe like at least Simon's probably going to be in the final week of this game.
Yeah, it'd be nice. And going from when he first played, and yeah, he had two idols in his pocket, and I'm sure he got voted out with two functioning idols.
Yeah.
And he made some real blunders there, and just going from and that was maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, just going up to now and finally winning the game with third try. It would be a real fairy tale, It would be nice. And he hasn't really put a foot wrong, to be honest. This game, he's done really well, all things considered, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, is he the most polished player of all time? No. But he's so likable, and like it's impossible not to root for him. And I mentioned right at the beginning that I feel like the second time he played, he was so, overcome by the specter of George that he was always so focused on George. So to see him this time without George involved, like he can just go out there and play himself. And he's doing a really good job. Even in Heroes versus Villains, where he didn't play a great game. He wasn't on top of many votes. If Simon got to the end, the jury were talking that like Simon probably wins the game just because of how likable he was, even though he wasn't like running the game or voting right at every tribal council. He still maybe wins that season because of how likable he is. So this season, where he's actually got a lot more control and agency, if he can get his way to the end, this would be the perfect 3-act arc for Simon. And I don't think anyone would begrudge Simon after the Yeti got in Heroes versus Villains and took on the chin like a champ. Yeah, to finally get the big win.
Yeah, his great trilogy, as he said. So then we're gonna get the immunity challenge. Speaking of another great moment for Simon, he ends up winning immunity here. They have to toss balls on a shelf as a team, then roll 3 balls and have them sit on like the counter shelf above the ramp. So again, another good challenge. They've done this variations this one before, and Simon wins. So really great episode for Simon.
Yeah, there's something about these challenges which there's one thing I don't quite like, is that there is a real element of luck in it, because you're the first stage is a team challenge, and you could easily be lumped in with you could get a bad draw in that, and that could snooker your chances of winning individual immunity. So my only sort of gripe with those sort of challenges, I guess. But it's just part and parcel. But I think all the challenges across this season, they just always find a way to keep them fresh, which is great.
Yes.
That's why I've always thought Survivor just has the edge over shows like The Traitors. They can really keep things fresh, and they can introduce new rules, and just the game can continually evolve over time, and you can balance it. You can balance it perfectly based on a lot of things, and the risk of running stale is minimalized. Yeah. And there's no blueprint to win at all. You can always change and tweak little things. I think that's why I love Survivor so much, and these challenges has been so great, so epic, and they're brilliant.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the best Survivor is when like they have these new challenges every single season. They aren't just reusing them. I know US Survivor has been reusing them a lot in the new era. So it's always nice when like Australian Survivor, I feel, is the one that keeps changing their challenges every season. So it's never the same stuff.
Yeah. These things are tested like 4 or 5 times by production just to make sure they run perfectly. They time them to make sure they run for half an hour or an hour. It's a lot of thought goes into these things. It's very clever.
Yeah. Michael, any thoughts on this challenge?
Yeah, I agree. I think the challenges this season in particular have been really good. I think they've, at this point in Survivor, a lot of the challenges they can seem quite samey, and I think what I really like this season is that they've done little tweaks to challenges that maybe we've seen a variation of before, but this time there's something different with the end part or the beginning part, and they kind of balance that out, and they bring new elements, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but if they don't try that stuff, then they're never going to get good stuff. So like I appreciate them trying everything just to see like what makes a good challenge, and it doesn't feel like you're just watching the same thing over and over again. And yeah, I agree on the Traitors. Like the challenges in Survivor have actual game implications. Whereas in the trades, it's like, well, they're raising money for themselves. Cool.
Yeah.
This time, someone's going to win immunity that could potentially save them for the game. So it actually makes sense why we're spending 20 minutes on it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the challenges and the traders. Like, that's my least favorite part of that show.
Totally.
Nobody is, Jake. Nobody is.
Austin, I'm sure if he was here, would tell you that I watching one of the traders episodes for a podcast, I fell asleep during one of the challenges.
Oh no.
So, but we get back to camp, and there's a lot that happens. So Mark makes an alliance with Ben and Jackson called the 96 Bulls. So that doesn't last very long. We obviously get Ben coming out of his shell, targeting Mark, calling him a stain on the game. And Simon is trying to squash the revolution by targeting Ben. Then we get Richard goes to Simon and tells him Mark is going home. So not the greatest move from Richard. That probably does lead to him being voted for.
I feel so bad for Rich because I actually think Rich was totally right here. And I feel like it just maybe they just undervalued that Simon would be as on board with Mark as he was. But I really liked what Rich said, that like I'm the best person to broach this with Simon. The relationship that Simon and Richard had over the course of this entire season, like him being willing to go and have that conversation and knowing it would sound the best coming from him and he can have an honest relationship with him. And he approached Simon really, conversationally. It wasn't, this is what we're doing, jump on board. It wasn't dictatorship. It was,
right.
Hey, how do you feel about this? He didn't super push it hard. He just got Simon's perspective on it. And I really liked how Rich handled it. And I feel so sad that this blows up on Rich because I really like the way that Rich played the game.
Yeah.
But man, I disagree with the whole thing. I feel so bad for Rich.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Simon makes a mistake by letting Rich go. I do think Simon should have definitely listened to Rich, so I do feel bad in that aspect, because I don't think this really should have been game ending. It just ends up being that way, unfortunately. So,
and Rich is one of the more malleable players. He was someone who was open and fluid. Yeah. Whereas there was people like Ben who's really locked in that this is the direction I'm going down. Rich is someone you can work with. So to target him, I just didn't get it.
Yeah. Rich was a really interesting one. Before he left, I was thinking this could well be his story. And if he made it to the 45-day mark and you're voting for the winner of a series of Survivor, I think he'd have quite a good case. Absolutely would convince me to give him a vote to win. Yeah, for sure. It was a funny one. It was a real funny one. I think it could have gone either way. I think the decision to let him go was funny, which we'll get to at Tribal Council.
Yes.
I think there's a few things that we could look at together and see if there's better options.
Yeah.
But yeah, it must just be, again, it's just painful when you're so close to making the jury and you're just a vote short. I think that's something that might cut, it cuts deep,
Yeah. Well, and to last 30 days out there, 28 days or however long Rich lasted and not make the jury is just insane.
Yeah.
And he says he went to 9 of 12 tribal councils.
Yeah,
to have survived so much in a way worse position than he was at Merge.
Yeah,
he was in a complete minority in the swap. He gets through all that and then gets thrown to the wolves here. It's like, oh man, poor guy.
What company was he CEO of? Has anyone found out?
I have not. Michael?
No idea. CEO of something.
Yeah, CEO of someone or something.
Yes.
Maybe he's like co-owner of Boost Juice with Janine Alice.
The godmother and the godfather. Well, no, the godfather's Matt Rogers.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Before we get to tribal, can I mention the incredible moment between Mark and Brooke as well?
Yes.
Where Brooke manages to tell Mark that he's in trouble with just the most intense eye contact I've ever seen in Survivor. It was so cool, like the music of it as well. Like Mark just staring at her and being like, "Oh, it's me. Oh."
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said, like when you're both returnees and you can just have that like intense eye contact and know something's wrong. Like I feel like there's something to say for the differences between like new players doing that and returnees. So all right, let's get to the tribal council. So a lot happens. Brooke warns Mark, as we said, and Simon ends up giving Mark a fake idol to bluff. Obviously, what was set up earlier in the episode. So I find this really fun. Obviously, Mark's gonna try it, but then he is gonna play his real idol. But Mark and Ben then go off to the side and they start talking about, Ben, why'd you betray me? And like, all this stuff. And they don't reach a decision to work together. And then Mark questions Richard and gives the returnees and Keely Rich's name, or as he says, the weakest ally.
Yeah.
What are our thoughts here?
Yeah. I really like the way this tribal was edited. Where it was zooming in on Mark and the noise sort of faded into the background. Yes. You could sort of see the inner workings of his brain. It was like an episode within the episode. It really was. It was brilliant fun. The weakest ally quote. I don't know. What do you think he meant by that?
I think he's just mad that Rich was like in the middle and kind of going between sides. Like I don't know if that's I feel like that's probably what Mark meant, but like I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Rich has been a great ally for the returnees, and I feel like there was just nothing he could do really because his hands were tied by the majority. And I just feel like Mark made obviously I think a very short-sighted decision here, deciding to use his emotions and cut Rich here. I think that it absolutely should have been Ben, because then Ben's not working with you. So
yeah, totally. Imagine a statement like that. It's like you came for me. I'm just going to send you straight back home. That would have been probably even more badass than what he actually did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a badass play. I think the other mistake he's made, because you could have also kept the fake idol for one more. You didn't have to expose that. You could have actually kept that for another turn. Because I actually, it could have worked. It didn't look so bad. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was cool. But the best game decision from Mark, I don't know. I think he could have done something far more beneficial to his own game. Split up, the Ben and Jackson power duo.
Mm-hmm.
Take it something like a Blanche, who probably would never work for you.
Yeah, Blanche would be another good option to get rid of. So I think, again, someone that is like a passenger, and she's just going to be loyal to the alliance she's stuck with. So
yeah, Rich, because you could see a world where Rich could work with you if you really worked him socially for a while, and you gave him some avenues and you struck a deal with him. He could have been a vote at some point. There was people there that you could have cut to would never have worked with you, who'd always be gunning for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Michael? I think there's something to be said for if you take out Ben here, you could put the fear of God into these people. Hey, do not throw my name out. I am so far ahead of the game here where, like, if you come for me, you're dead. Actually, I think coming out of this tribal council, that alliance that came after Mark, we're probably feeling pretty good. Yeah, the vote didn't go their way, but they kind of got off scot-free. I'd be feeling great. I don't mind losing Rich. I don't know if it's a situation where Mark maybe didn't have the right read of where the dissent was coming from completely, and he thought that maybe Rich was a bigger part of it than he was. Like maybe Rich was the one pushing the plan rather than just being kind of a number within it. But Also, if there was ever any doubt, we've talked about before, the seating arrangements of Tribal Council, if Mark was ever unsure of whether or not the game had become newbie versus returnee, the three returning players were all sat together on the end, and then the sea of first-time players were all sat at the other end. So it's like, okay, we're here for war.
Yes. So yeah, we're gonna get to the vote now. So Mark plays his idol after bluffing the fake idol, which he didn't have to do, but he does it anyway. Plays his real idol, negates 7 votes, and he's talking to Rich and is like, "Hey, did you vote for me?" And Rich is like, "Well, I'll explain after." And he's like, "Will you?"
Oh,
And then the ice cold line
Ice
Rich is
cold.
voted out. I feel so bad for Rich here.
Oh man, he didn't deserve it, really, did he? But I mean, for TV purposes, it was just so badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I really like about Mark is I really like someone that's not afraid to be confrontational and put pressure on people. Like a lot of players in Survivor, they stick to the niceties. We're gonna get with the reward in the next challenge, but in the next episode. But Mark's someone that's willing to put the pressure on, like everything down to the entire time of Tribal Council before this as well. He's just not even looking at David. He's staring daggers at all of these people, like putting the pressure on them. The way he just very slyly shows the idol for a brief second. It's just pressure on pressure on pressure to get someone to crack. And yeah, he's completely ruthless. And he wasn't this ruthless in his first season. He was pretty ruthless, but like, good God, the line where Rich says, "You should have." What did he say? It's something about voting for me, and he's like, "I've done it again." As the vote turns around, it was like, oh my God, straight kill shot. Not only is this guy not on the jury now, he's going to be feeling awful about that. The poor guy.
Yeah.
You've took him out with no dignity.
Yeah. Only 4 votes. So it's insane. So unfortunately we lose Rich, and Caleb did throw his vote on Brooke, so this was interesting as well from Caleb to do this. I mean, should this majority alliance have at least tried to throw some more votes on Brooke?
Yeah, there's a really they tried in the next tribal. They tried a strange split vote, which doesn't really make sense, which we can go into.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is the start of the Caleb story, which is just another interesting element of the editing of the season, because 2 episodes ago I wouldn't have been able to tell you much about Caleb, but this last episode he's really started to grow on me.
I agree.
The sprinklings of a winner's edit for sure from the guy.
That's what I was thinking too. I was telling Michael that before we recorded. I was like, Caleb actually might have a winner's edit. But
yeah, totally. When you think back and you think back to his story so far, you're like, yeah, you've done pretty well, man. Like, you've set yourself up in some good positions. You're not even though your whole stick is being chaotic and shouty. There's actually a brain in there for sure. You're actually a very intelligent guy. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Even though you did spit in the grave of Harry. I know you'd have been upset with that, Michael. I know you would have. I know how much of a fan you are, mate.
It's difficult because I am starting to like Caleb, but it's a difficult hurdle to get over for me. Like, but if Caleb's story is like, hey, I was the driving force behind getting all 4 attorneys out, and he gets to the end and you can say that, that's a hell of a thing to be able to claim. So like, maybe that's going to be his journey going forward.
Right.
Totally. And I really hope we see a resolution to his and Jackson's feud.
Oh yeah.
That would be quite satisfying.
Oh, 100%. So we get back to camp and Mark tries to squash it again with Ben, but Ben is not having it and wants a returnee gone. Although he does say, like, Mark, we have a spot for 1 returnee in our alliance, which is just
brutal.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's an interesting way to play that situation, I guess. Mm-hmm. You are sort of, to be fair to Ben, you're sort of just, you're hitting it back to them. You're hitting it back to their core. Okay, see what you do with that then.
Mm-hmm.
Will you take the bait?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
just confuse them. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because Simon is originally the target here for them. It's not originally Mark until Caleb starts like playing both sides later in the episode. So it's really interesting.
I was convinced that Mark was going to be all right.
Yeah.
Like things seemed okay. Like I don't know if maybe he did, but it didn't make the cut. But I really felt like Mark really needed to push how dangerous passengers are going to be to Ben specifically. Not only is he just, he's trying to make a big move and he's really taking the reins, but he's also a big physical threat.
Yeah.
Like working with people like Mark could actually be really beneficial to him. So I really like Ben, but I am worried about how this big move's going to affect his long term in the game.
Yeah, definitely. So we're now going to get to the reward challenge. This is building the sandbags up to get the sticks and rope, build a pole to unlock the gate, and slingshot the balls into the net. And Simon, I believe, ends up winning it for the team of Simon, Laws, Keely, Ben, Jackson, and then Cameron chooses the right team. So they win a high tea and feast with a stipulation. They have the bell, which is new to these types of rewards, where they get to ring the bell on someone to let them know their time's up. I thought this was really fun, especially when, like, for the first time, we get people being like, let's just do this because we don't want Cameron to get much to eat. So we're just going to ring the bell immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. No, it was good fun. It was really good fun. And turns out, because usually you don't have as much, you have a bit more control because you can ring the bell. You can actually bring even a bit of strategy into this small bit of reward challenge,
Yeah.
Yeah, good fun. But I mean, usually I guess you're going away to a location well out of sight, and then you have your time to do whatever you want, and you're like, yeah, I didn't look for anything, but it's right there, so everyone just knows that you're just running around for an advantage or an idol. There's no hiding it anymore.
Yeah, that was insane because I was like, oh wow, because they have to ring the bell, anyone who hasn't gone yet just gets to watch it happen, which ends up working out in Keely's favor, as we'll get to in a second. Michael, your thoughts on the challenge or the reward?
This is my favorite reward every season. I love the kind of one at a time style reward, especially now that everyone knows the meta. Everyone knows, hey, we need to be careful about the order that we go in. And I love that it gets subverted with, how these kinds of advantages usually go in this kind of reward. And again, Keely just becoming one of my favorites. Should we just ring Cameron's bell straight away? Why? Because he's annoying.
He's annoying.
Like, he was in there for 5 seconds.
It was so funny because he's like, wait, what?
Is Cameron British, by the way?
This is crazy, right? Yes, he's got some British heritage because they cleared that up in like one of the first episodes. Because I occasionally get like Australian accent, and then you get like this really like London just bang right in your head, like.
Yeah. Because someone, I think Lottie or someone in the first episode asks if he's like French because he has a baguette tattooed on him. Like, I was like, because I was like, I noticed that he had different accent than everybody else. So I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because all French people have a baguette tattooed on them. That's, that's what they do when they reach 18 years old over there.
And twirl their little handlebar mustaches. Or is that a French thing? I don't know. All right. Well, Keely finds the idol in the giant thing of rice, which I found was interesting. She had to like almost like fall into it to get the idol. So I don't know. I was like, can't you just like reach through the bottom? But I guess not. I guess you have to like try to climb in and not fall. So
a good visual.
Yeah. It was good.
I don't know if it's a Ben says when he's got his champagne, he says a little bit of the bubbly, and it's from Dumb and Dumber, but it's also the wrestler Chris Jericho said it all the time. So I don't know whether he's a wrestling fan or a Dumb and Dumber fan, but I really appreciated the reference.
Oh
man.
I'd love a Dumb and Dumber reference in Survivor, in Australian Survivor. Also, the other thing from this reward is I noticed that Simon's like putting his hands in the iced tea. I was like, Simon, what are you doing? It's gross. Like people are gonna drink that after Simon's just put his dirty fingers.
God,
it's not as bad as some. What was it, Miles, with the spaghetti bolognese last time, where he's just hands in the entire thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's been worse like actions before at some of these food rewards. I mean, we used to have and David, the Golden God, literally got chuck cake around at, like the cake shop or whatever. So I mean, we would definitely have had worse ones. So yeah, then we get the interaction between Ben, Jackson, and Simon, where Simon's basically like trying to play both sides, and Ben and Jackson are like, "Do we believe him?" No. So poor Simon.
Simon, even in a season where he's doing really well, still gets shat on by the edit sometimes, where the confessional before this conversation is him saying how great his social game is, and like, my social game is second to none. And then they cut to this really awkward conversation where they don't believe a word he's saying. It's like the edit cannot help but paint Simon in a certain light. Poor guy.
Yeah, poor Simon. All right, we get the immunity challenge, which is the ball on the bow. We've seen this as well in US Survivor. Brooke ends up winning her second individual immunity of the season over Simon. Again, Brooke just amazing at these challenges.
Fun fact, Brooke now holds the cumulative Australian Survivor individual immunity record.
Oh, wow.
So, crazily, Kalen held the record, and he did it in one season. But now Brooke has 8 individual immunities across her Survivor career. So once again, proving she's a challenge beast. But I thought that was a really nice stat for Brooke to be able to clinch.
That is very cool. Yeah. And plenty more to come, I'm sure. You know,
I really think so.
She doesn't age, right? She's just like a vampire.
Yeah.
Honestly.
For sure.
That must have been the first Aussie season was 10 years.
Yeah, 2016.
10 years, yeah.
Crikey.
It's
wow,
insane.
What an achievement.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane looking back, because I do remember when 2016, when season 1 aired, because I remember watching the first season online as it was happening. So I was like, it's crazy to think back to that.
That's cool.
So Brooke has immunity, and now we're gonna get Chaos Gremlin Caleb going crazy, and so he starts bluffing to both sides. So he starts bluffing to Mark and Ben and getting them to turn against each other. This is genius on Caleb's part, because now he sets himself up as the swing vote, and I'm sure we're gonna get to this decision here where he's gonna get talked to by Mark and the returnees, being like, okay, who do you want to vote for? Caleb's like, Jackson, and then Mark goes to Caleb and is like, no, it's Ben. This is a huge mistake on Mark's part. I think that feels his fate.
That was Caleb's sort of whole problem, was that he just had no say. He was getting left out of things. He just felt like he wasn't contributing, and they just did it again. Get to the poor guy, you know. So he just thought he thought, nah, screw it, I've had enough, you know, and he took it into his own hands. But no, it was really good. It was just classic shit starting, really. You know, it was just so good. You know, I'm just gonna lie. I'm just gonna tell a made up story and just get this and just stir the pot here, just to favour my own game. Top notch. Go have it. You know, it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, I know you have thoughts on what happens here with Mark and Caleb. So
I mean, I love Mark. I think Mark's an absolute top tier player. But this season, he struggled so bad with needing to be in control of everything. Mm-hmm. And like, everyone else saw it. Like, Caleb just wants to have agency in this vote and make this his move, not just be told what to do. And I loved how Brooke handled it. Like Caleb and Brooke had a chat on the log, and Brooke saying, like, this is a huge move for you. Like, I'm so excited for what you're gonna do, and like really trying to sell it up to him. But that sell would have been so much easier if they. It doesn't matter if it's Ben or Jackson. Like, why does Mark care so much that Ben has to be mayor of Jury Villa? Like, it just matters that it's one of them. And 100%, I feel like Caleb would have gone with the Jackson vote because it completes his story. It's like you said earlier, Doug. Like, this is the rivalry between, Jackson and Caleb has been set up for so long. Getting that rivalry ended with him going to the jury, the first juror, is an amazing story for Caleb and a huge move for him that he can say, like, I did that. I put a pin in that. It's done. And then once again, he just gets dictated to. And it's like Mark just clutched defeat from the jaws of victory. I don't know why. It's frustrating because I don't actually think this worked out well for Caleb either. I feel like he had better options if he went the other way, but I understand why he went the way he did because of how he was feeling in the game.
Yeah. I think it's just like if Mark agrees with letting Jackson go, I think Caleb might actually vote with them. So it's just it's hard to tell. Maybe Caleb is always going to get this on his resume, as he says. But...
we see Mark as well being subservient earlier in the episode. We see him being like willing to do that with the Jackson Ben people. Why is he not willing to do that with Caleb, the person who really matters at this point?
Yeah. So we're going to get to the tribal council, and so Mark thinks Caleb is flipped with them. So it's going to be 5-4-2, and we're wondering where Caleb is going to go. We get a really funny Ben voting confessional of he's like, I'm here to remove a stain, remove the mark that it left. So that was good. I love cheeky voting confessionals. And when the votes come through, it is indeed 5-4-2, but Caleb draws his face on the voting parchment, and it is for Mark, who thought that he had it all wrapped up. This is great. It sucks to lose Mark, but I think this is a really fun vote. And I honestly think for Caleb, I at the end of the day, I definitely don't think it's a bad decision for him, especially because he clearly didn't have the agency, because Mark was gonna keep like enforcing his will on Caleb. So
yeah, I mentioned it earlier on, but there was a strange. Those two votes were kind of strange. I'm still trying to work out where that came from. What that was. Who did the larger alliance think that they had from the minority there to warrant those two votes?
Yeah,
I can't quite think.
Maybe they thought they had Brooke and Simon still on their side, but also like, I don't know, because they were also so anti-returnee, and like they have already been talking shit about Simon, so like I can't imagine they actually think they have Simon either. So
yeah, I mean it was really exciting, you know. It made I guess it made the whole episode more, the whole voting more exciting, I guess. So no, it was kind of good and sad to see Mark go. You know, I am a huge Mark fan. But it was when he got his round of applause at the end, it was just great, and it was in terms of how the story was being told this season, it was a good way to end Mark's impact on the season, I think, which is really cool. And he's now the mayor of Jury Villa, which is just kind of a bit of an icing on the cake. You know, Mark's actually, I actually speak quite a lot to Mark. He's the only person that, one of the only Australian survivors I speak to quite a lot. We've spoken kind of the last couple of years. He watched our season, and definitely a huge shout out to him. He's one who just loves being part of this Australian Survivor community. Loved playing it, loved having fun with it. One of my favourites for sure, and I have a lot of favourites in Australian Survivor, but he's up there at the top. I think he's brilliant fun, and just plays the game with such passion, and he just loves it, which is it's just so great to watch.
Absolutely, Michael. Your thoughts on Mark?
Oh yeah, he's great, and he was, you know, coming out of Titans versus Rebels, he was one of the players I was most excited to see again, and I really like bookends in Survivor, and I do quite like the bookend that he's been the now the mayor of Juryvilla, and he's been the final juror, so he gets to cap off both sides of that spectrum. He did what he could, but it was just I think what I really liked about Mark as well in his post vote out confessional is how much he was throwing his back in towards Caleb. Like he wasn't bitter about the movie, really appreciated Caleb for taking that shot and like respected Caleb as well. So he's like wanting Caleb to go on and do it and win now. So he went out with style. It was a crazy tribal council. The funny thing about the whole thing is that like the minority, like the vote before is when they should have split the vote, and then this one is where they should have dogpiled, and they did it wrong both times, but somehow Mark still ends up leaving the game. But entertaining television.
Yeah. Caleb was dropping some deep Survivor truths when he was getting talked to. He was saying some great quotes. Like I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was saying something like, "If you can con a jury, you win the game." I'm like, this is so true. Yeah. Like if you can just completely con a jury at the time, at the right time in the right place, and you can fool them, you've won. And it comes down to that. I would say it's like the truth appears out. Like we're all talking now. The final truth appears out of that urn. I'm like, that is some deep Survivor knowledge, man. I'm loving that. It's a resurgence from not resurgence, but the rise from Caleb here. It's so cool. I'm looking forward to seeing the next scene and see how it goes. I hope it doesn't peter out like a Sue's big move sort of thing. I really hope it continues this momentum. I really hope it does. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I am as well. I think Caleb might actually have some win equity now. I could see Caleb winning. At the very least, I think he's probably in finale week. He was one of the people who got like an opening confessional in the premiere about like kind of looking for something in life, like to make him love life more. And so like I thought that I think that probably represents this season. So I got to absolutely see Caleb winning off of that and this move. From there, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen after what just happened the last 2 episodes. So. Michael?
Caleb's like a slow burn. Like it takes a while. He's got quite a brash personality. It takes quite a while to warm to him. Like my thoughts on him early on was like he seemed quite cocky and arrogant, and then like the more you spend time with him and like he has this conversation or confessional about being underestimated and feeling like he needs to prove himself, and like the more the episodes go on, the more I'm like, oh, good guy Caleb. Like I thought he was getting like a villain edit for the first couple of weeks, and now he's slowly kind of transitioning into the hero of the story. So I wouldn't be opposed to Caleb moving on if that's the edit that we're getting for him, and he's our winner.
I'll tell you a useful tool that I'm noticing the returnees are using now is they're actively mentioning in Tribal Council the blueprint it takes to win a game and to try and get jury votes, and they're trying to give plans and rules on how to pull a resume together to win the game and get a vote from a jury. Now, I've always thought a jury vote for me is quite a personal thing. I don't think there's any real blueprint that you can have. My idea of a Survivor winner will be different from your guys' winner to get a vote. But what Simon's doing here is he's actively trying to like kind of maneuver and alter newbies' perceptions of what you might have to do in this day and age of Survivor to build a resume to win, and that can influence votes. I think it's a useful tool that I'm kind of seeing coming out here, which is another advantage that the returnees have is they're making a point that you shouldn't be voting like this because it's not going to do you well for your end game, because I've been there before and I've been in the jury. Quite a useful little tool that's been pulled at the moment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I loved what Brooke said about that as well, where she mentioned just jumping on a vote like that is a big move, isn't your big move. Because if you get to an end and say, I did this, you've got a jury full of people that also voted that way that think that they did this. So it's like really kind of stressing that you can't just vote out the big players and say that you controlled the game, because you didn't. You wanted to take out the big players and everyone jumped on board it.
Yeah.
So I
really
think that was
clever.
a really good way for Brooke. Yeah, to to try and steer the vote away from, hey, let's just go down the line of these returnees and we'll all have great resumes, because no, that's not really how it works.
Yeah, and you're seeing they are thinking about it. I think a lot of it is going in there. I think for Brooke and Simon, I think it might just protect them a little bit more. I really think it will.
Yeah,
a lot of seeds have been planted, and I don't think it'll be returnee now. I would hope not. I think that now that they've got their big dog out now, they might start looking around and thinking, okay, they're weakened enough. We'll leave the returnees there. We'll now start maybe eating our own.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jackson is probably also going to be in finale week based on storytelling and editing. I mean, I feel like you said, Doug, I think we need to see the conclusion to Jackson versus Caleb, and so I think there's still some room to go there. Although they seem to have dropped the Cameron versus Jackson storyline from the premiere as well. I don't really know where that ended up. But
yeah, it was just so funny how that episode, I was like, oh, Cameron, he's gonna this guy's gonna be a big old player here, and then I just haven't really seen much of him at all, which is quite sad.
Yeah, it's very odd. With that, with our draft check-in, Michael's down to 2 people. I am down to 3, and Austin's at 5. So,
damn!
Didn't even realize I had 2. I thought I had 3. Yet I'm putting all my. I've got Scott. Is it Jackson and Blanche?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Jackson might have some equity. Unfortunately, you still have Blanche though.
I've got to put all my eggs into the Jackson basket now.
Yeah. I mean, I have Simon, I have Laws, and who's the other person that I had? And then I have Sally. So, I think I'm kind of putting all my eggs in the Simon basket. So,
yeah, Austin's killing it.
Yeah. He did. He was killing it. Brains versus Ron too, and then still somehow came in thirds because all his picks went out basically in a row at the end. So. All right. Well, let's get to player of the week. Doug, who is your player of the week?
Player of the week over the 3 eps. Ooh, good question. I'm going to put Caleb. I'm going to put Caleb.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Caleb. I just think what he did in episode 3, I think it sets him up quite nicely going into the last third of this game. I mean, Mark's up there as well. Mark, I guess, can split it in 2. I'm going to Mark for the first half and then Caleb for the second half, I guess. Split between them both. I think they've both been great. I think there's some nice moves there, for sure. Even Ben, even Ben to an extent, he's starting to take a bit more control, I guess. Whether it lasts, I don't know. But I think what's now emerging is we have some. I'm seeing who the real contenders are now in this edit. I'm now working out players that I don't. Their chances of winning are getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer to the point where I can't see them winning just based on the edit. There are some front runners emerging now.
Yeah. Michael.
Yeah, it's a tough week because there was some really great gameplay, but then all the people that played really well also had some kind of sloppy decisions in there as well. Like, I think Mark was great, but then, I mean, he ends up going home at the end of it, so that's tough. Ben, I'm going to give it to Ben. Like, he could have organized the votes better. He could have been more subtle, but ultimately he did get what he wanted, and I don't think he cared too much about Rich going. It all worked out for him in the end, even if there were a few little hiccups along the way. But yeah, I agree. I think it's between. It could just as easily have been Caleb.
What about Keely, actually?
Caleb did manage to kind of get off scot-free. He was just kind of floating through without the big, target that Ben now has. But I'll give it to Ben because it was a really fun week from Ben.
What about Keely?
Keely's
Keely
a good
too.
pick,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she did a lot of good things. Obviously, finding the idol. She got the Lottie vote to go off. So I mean,
Yeah.
she's done some good things this week. So
She did lose Mark, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think that was going to happen eventually anyways. It was just bound to happen. And unfortunately for her, it happened a little probably sooner than she would have liked. But I think she can recover even after being a split vote. Like, I don't think that, like, happy alliance of 7 that just got their way, I don't think that alliance is staying strong. So
I mean, she has an idol, so chaos.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of chaos, I'm gonna go with the Chaos Gremlin Caleb for my player of the week. I just love that swing vote position that he found himself in and was able to take out a big player. I think like that's the ideal position that I would love to be in games, is just being the one to make that swing and that move. And so I think that's going to bode well, especially if he can sell it. And as Doug, you talked about with conning a jury, I mean, we've definitely seen people sit at the end and con a jury. We've had Chris Doherty, we have had Christy Bennett do it in Australian Survivor, I feel like, where they conned a jury into believing what they were selling. So yeah, I think it could happen. All right. Well, thank you so much, Doug, for coming on with us again.
Oh, guys, it's so good seeing you. I absolutely love this. Thanks so much for having me. It's been another great season. I just want more of it. You know, I want Australian Survivor to keep going and going and going. And the way they're managing to keep the game fresh and find some great characters who love the community, love playing the game, and they're still bringing back returnee players to keep things fresh. It's really good. And David as a host is I'm sold on him now. I think he's really, really good. He can definitely make this his own. And since they had even Australia versus the world last year, they could even bring back even South Africa and other things they could do with this beautiful thing they've got here. I'm a huge fan, and I will continue to be a fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And with that, we will be back next week. Hopefully Austin will be back with us, and we will talk more Australian Survivor on the Tribe of Nerds.